What's up, everybody? I'm Zanny Cakes, and we are on Project Diablo 2 Open Beta, taking a look at all of the skill trees for all of the classes. This is my final video. The last class that I have to take a look at is the Druid, and that's what we're going to do. After looking at all of the classes, I think that I have finally decided that I'm going to roll a Druid as my season starter. The little bit of playing that I have done in-game has been on a summoning druid, and I've really enjoyed it so far. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at these skill trees here. So we've got Firestorm, unleash fiery chaos to burn your enemies, fire speed and range increase per level. It gets synergies from Molten Boulder and Fissure. We have Arctic Blast, blast a continuous jet of ice to burn your enemies with frost. That's kind of odd wording there, but it does cold damage per 6 to 11 cold damage per second, costs 1 mana per second to continue channeling it, and then it gets damage synergies from Hurricane, Tornado, Twister, and Cyclone Armor. Cyclone Armor, shield yourself from damage caused by fire, cold, and lightning. At level 1, it absorbs 65 damage. Overall, Cyclone is a pretty good survivability skill. It really helps, especially if you're running hardcore. It's very good in things like the Diablo fight where there's a lot of elemental damage. Molten Boulder, launch a boulder of flaming hot magma that knocks back your enemies. Boulder speed increases per level. It gets damage synergies from Fissure, Volcano, and Armageddon. We have Fissure, open volcanic vents below your enemies, burning them to a crisp. It lasts for 2.2 seconds at level 1. Gets damage synergies from Firestorm and Molten Boulder. Here we have Twister, release several small whirlwinds that cut a path through your enemies. It does 6 to 8 damage at level 1. It is physical damage. That's one thing that I really like about Twister and Tornado. And then it also gets damage synergies from Hurricane, Tornado, and Arctic Blast. So here we have Gust, which is a new skill for Project Diablo 2. Instantly moves to a destination, stunning enemies upon arrival for 0.2 seconds. It's got a 6.3 second cooldown. So basically what this is a teleport with a cooldown. The more points you put into it, the lower the cooldown is, and I believe you can eventually get it down to a half a second cooldown, and it's a very good skill for mobility and really helps out pretty much any druid build that doesn't shapeshift. You cannot cast it while you're shapeshifted. We have Tornado, create a funnel of wind and debris to blast your enemies. It does 25 to 35 damage at level 1. Again, it's physical damage. And then it gets damage synergies from Arctic Blast, Twister, and Hurricane. Volcano, summon forth a volcano to rain death and destruction over your enemies. It does physical damage and fire damage, which is nice because it can actually kill fire immunes or physical immunes if they aren't immune to both. And then it gets damage synergies from Molten Boulder, Fissure, and Armageddon. We have Armageddon, create a meteor shower to rain fiery destruction on nearby enemies. At level 1, it lasts for 60 seconds. It's a 3.3 yard radius, and it does both physical damage and fire damage, and then average fire damage per second. It gains fire damage bonuses from Fissure, Molten Boulder, and Volcano. Armageddon is a really strong skill, and I believe it will be a very good elemental skill in Project Diablo 2. Then we have Hurricane. Create a massive storm of wind and debris to pound your enemies to bits. Lasts for 60 seconds. The level 1, it does 25 to 50 cold damage and gains damage synergies from Arctic Blast, Tornado, and Twister. The thing I like about both Hurricane and Armageddon is that you cast them and they just kill things around you for 60 seconds. They do a lot of damage and they just supplement anything else you're doing for that entire minute until you need to recast them. I think that Elemental is a very strong skill tree on the Druid. You have multiple forms of damage between physical, cold, and fire. You have some survivability, and then added mobility with Gust is a very good thing as well. Moving on to shapeshifting, we have Werewolf. Transforms you into a werewolf. You gain magic damage reduction and physical damage reduction, which is new to Project Diablo 2. I think that added damage reduction is extremely good. Then we have Feral Rage. When in werewolf form, go into a frenzied rage to steal increasing amounts of life from your enemies with successful hits. It lasts for 20 seconds. You gain run walk speed, lifesteal, damage, and attack rating. The lifesteal percentage looks like they quite heavily nerfed that, but it is still a very good skill. It does quite a bit of damage. With all of the melee-oriented weapons having splash damage, I think that Feral Rage with the added run speed is extremely good. The mobility is usually king in Diablo, and overall I really like Feral Rage. Plus you can just get the Feral Rage buff up and then use other skills, and you'll still gain the bonus to run walk speed, lifesteal, and it's just good things all around. We have Rabies. When in werewolf form, bite your enemies to inflict them with disease that spreads over to other monsters. It's a huge bonus to attack rating and then adds poison damage over 5 seconds. It's got very large synergies from Poison Creeper and Feral Rage. I like the Feral Rage is a synergy to it, as if you gear up for physical damage and then use Rabies, you'll have very high physical damage and poison damage, meaning that you won't have issues with immunities. Then we have Fury. When in werewolf form, attack either multiple adjacent targets or one target multiple times. You get, at level 1, it's 3 hits. You get a huge bonus to attack rating, 235%, and 100% bonus damage. Fury is a very strong skill, and again, with melee weapons having splash built into them, I think Fury Druids will be even stronger than they have been in the past. So we have Lycanthropy. It's a passive that improves the duration and life when in werewolf or werebear forms. It doesn't say anything about the duration. I think that they didn't update that tooltip correctly. It gives you attack rating and max life. And werewolf form, I believe that they actually got rid of the duration on werewolf form, so looks like they just need to update that tooltip there. We have Werebear. Transforms into a werebear. You gain bonus damage and bonus defense. Maul. While in werebear form, maul your enemies for increasing extra damage with successive hits. The buff lasts for 20 seconds on you. It also gives you stun on your attacks and then increases your damage by a huge amount. At level 1, you can get up to 90% bonus damage, and then you get 50% bonus to attack rating. Overall, Maul is a very strong skill. And we have Hunger. While in werebear form, consume a corpse to temporarily gain movement speed, critical strike, and lifesteal. Gains 1 second duration and 1% movement speed per base level, 10% movement speed. First level is 5% chance of critical strike, 3% lifesteal. That is a complete rework to Hunger. In vanilla Diablo 2, Hunger is usable in either bear or wolf form. Now it's only usable in bear form and gives you bonus critical strike and lifesteal as well as movement speed. Overall, I think that is a really good change for hunger. The biggest issue with hunger in vanilla was that it does minus 75% damage, so it was just kind of a wasted point, really, because all it did was leech life and mana, and you already had plenty of life leech and didn't need a whole lot of mana leech. So I think that's a very good change for hunger. We have Shockwave. When in Werebear form, stomp to create a shockwave that stuns nearby enemies. The first level gives you a 0.2 second stun and then does 8 to 14 damage and gets synergies from Werebear, Twister, and Tornado. And then we have Fire Claws. When in Werewolf or Werebear form, maul your enemies with Fiery Claw attack. It adds fire damage and a good boost to attack rating. And then you have 4 different synergies that all add 22% fire damage for each synergy, meaning that you can get Fire Claws up to a absolutely ridiculous amount of added fire damage to your attack. So summoning, we have Poison Creeper. Summons a vine that spreads disease to all it contacts. It just follows you around and does poison damage to anything that it attacks. It gets damage synergies from Carrion Vine, Solar Creeper, and Rabies. And we have Carrion Vine. Summon a vine that eats corpses and replenishes life for you and your party. The Oak Sage and Solar Creeper give it bonus to life healed per each point in those. I really like the changes to Carrion Vine. It used to only heal you as the Druid, and it would do just a small percentage of the corpse hit points as opposed to a flat amount of healing. So I think that the overall party healing and flat number of healing as opposed to a percentage of the corpse's hit points is a very good change. We have Solar Creeper that does the same thing, but it's for mana instead of health. So here we have Raven. As I said earlier at the start of the video, I've been playing the Summoning Druid, and Ravens are extremely strong. You can eventually get up to 12 of them, and you summon up to 3 of them at a time if you have 20 points in it. They do both cold damage and physical damage, and then they get synergies from Spirit Wolf, Dire Wolf, and Grizzly. We have Heart of the Wolverine. Summon a spirit pet that adds damage and attack rating to you and your party. So it's just a overall damage and attack rating boost to you, all of your minions. Summon Spirit Wolf. Summon a wolf with the teleporting ability to fight by your side. It does 12 to 18 damage at level 1. You can eventually summon up to 5 of them at a time, and then it gains damage bonuses from Raven, Direwolf, Grizzly, and then Werewolf. However, points in Werebear will reduce the damage that they do. We have Spirit of Barbs. Summon a spirit pet that reflects damage taken by you and your party. The change that they made to Spirit of Barbs is it reflects a flat amount of damage. It's not a percentage damage of what the enemy monster does to you. It's if they hit you, they take 15 damage back. So I really do like that change, as it's something different and it does the same amount of damage to everything as opposed to does damage based on how hard the enemy monster hits you. We have Summon Dire Wolf. Summon a wolf that becomes enraged, eating corpses to increase damage it does to enemies. You get damage synergies from Raven, Spirit Wolf. You get an attack rating from Spirit Wolf, damage from Grizzly, damage from Werewolf form, and then again, Werebear will reduce the damage that it does. Then we have Summon Grizzly. You can summon an additional Grizzly at level 20, so you can have 2 of them. They're big, beefy, do a lot of damage. They now do splash damage in Project Diablo 2. And then they have a ton of synergies. You get damage from Ravens, Spirit Wolf, Dire Wolf, and Werebear form. And then Spirit Wolf will also give you attack rating. However, points in Werewolf will reduce the damage that your bear does. Then last but not least, we have Oak Sage. Summon a spirit pet that increases life and grants health regeneration for you and your party. I like the change to the fact that it now gives you life regen, similar to Prayer Aura. However, they changed the life that you gain from a percentage to a flat amount. And given that level 1 is only 5 life, I would imagine that it's a fairly significant nerf to the amount of life you get from the Oak Sage. However, I do like that you end up getting the health regeneration. So overall, I'm very excited about the Druid. I think that summoning is very strong. I think that there's going to be some very good builds with going werewolf form. You can either do werewolf with feral rage and then both of your wolves, and then you'd have enough points left over to max one of your sages. You can go werebear and then max out your bear. There's rabies is going to be strong. It's usually pretty good. Fire claws is going to be very good, and any number of elemental builds with Armageddon, Hurricane, and Tornado will be very strong. So overall, I'm really looking forward to playing the Druid. I'm going to be using it as my season starter, and going to hopefully be using those Ravens all the way through Hell mode and see where it goes from there. So we've got about 12 hours or so until Project Diablo 2 goes live, and with that, good luck, have fun, and I hope to see you out there.